By the way, how are we doing on time?
Fine, it's only 10 to 8.
10 to 8? Okay. Let me know if you guys want to do something else and want me to shut up. I'm happy to. Okay. Okay. All right. The whole, one of the cool things about a guitar is you can do so much different stuff with a guitar. It has a lot of jobs. I do a little presentation sometimes for 7th or 8th graders who are like band kids and stuff like that, I talk a little bit about the history of the guitar, and I ask them because they're like into families of instruments. I ask them, hey, so what family of instrument does a guitar fit in? Is it a keyboard? Is it, and of course the obvious answer that they always give, which is of course wrong, is it's a string instrument. Well, that's not. A string instrument is a violin and a fretless instrument. The guitar it's related to a rock and a stick. The first things, the first musical instruments are the ancestors of the guitar. And it's a percussion instrument, of course, and that's because you have to hit it to get noise out of it, as is a piano. The thing is, the guitar can do so many different things. It can be completely percussive, and of course it has to be harmonic. You got to play chords, and so you can play chords and melody and bass lines and percussion and stuff. So I frequently play a song that I wrote about 15 years ago for them to kind of demonstrate some of the things you can do with a guitar. And so I'll tell them first. I'll say, okay, listen, tell me what you hear here. What instruments do you hear is what I'll tell the kids. I guess I could tell you guys. Now, you guys could play too, even though, anyway. So we obviously have two things going on so far, right? So you think you hear bass and drums. Now we need something else. Now we need something else. So that was a fun one to put together. It's called Jetstream. My original plan with it was I would just like improvise these parts while I keep the bass line going, and that turned out to be really hard. I ended up doing it the same way every time now. So I ended up writing these things I call episodes, which are all these little parts that are happening while this is going on. That's one of them. Anyway, so it's like different verses, sort of. So, but yeah, one of my, I don't know, sort of a novelty song, I guess, but I really like it. So, okay, we talked about percussion. Oh, so I should play something else.
You do much Travis picking? Or?
Well, how would you define Travis picking?
Oh, I don't know, just double thumbing, you know.
Alternating bass?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's what I would use in Grandfather's Clock
Yeah.
and some stuff like
Yeah.
that. So, yeah, I'll talk about that in just a second. We're getting some vibrations from the planes here or something. Matter of fact, many of the pieces I write are exactly that. You know, kind of ragtimey stuff. Let's do this one. This is one called Paprika, but it's a good example of that. Mostly alternating bass, but some little bass. There's some other parts where it doesn't do that, I think. Kind of the condensed version. There's a lot more to that, but I figured we'll keep it short because I have a couple other really long things I want to play. No, not really. We're gonna play a Beethoven symphony here. You don't hear this on the guitar very often. So, but I did want to have a couple other things that I should probably play just to show you some cool stuff. And one of them is, the next one I was going to try is a Pat Metheny song. And I don't know if many of you are familiar with Pat, but he's a jazz guitar player. Yeah. And there are two of his songs that I like to play. One of them opens up with, maybe I'll do them both, but I don't know if I can remember the opening. Let me think. Well, one opens up with this. See if you recognize this, if you've heard some of this. Nope, that's not it, huh? Okay, I'll do the other one. Speaking of, did you? The main part of that goes like this. That's the really condensed version. That's called James. He wrote it for James Taylor. Doesn't sound anything like James Taylor, but it's what Pat thinks of when he's thinking of James Taylor. This one is supposed to sound like a train throughout most of the song. Let's see how long I can keep it up. It's called Last Train Home. Thanks. Let's see. Now, anything you guys want to hear? Yeah.
So I started getting interested when James Taylor and Jim Croce and singer-songwriter guys are, doing the thing on the guitar. But I tried to watch James Taylor.
Instructional videos?
Oh man.
Yeah.
What was up with that?
You would find that from
Really?
just about every really talented artist. First of all, they do things very unorthodox. Do not try to play your A chords the way he does, or your D chords like this. Don't listen to anything he says about guitar technique. I watched one or two of his things, and it's like I'm shaking my head saying, you cannot tell people this. First of all, you can tell people this because nobody will get it. So there's not really any damage done because it's unintelligible.
Even his tuning, the way he's
Oh, the whole
tuning
tuning thing,
cents
it's
and
2 cents
everything,
high.
Oh, yeah.
So he can, when
yeah.
he capos up, it's, he thinks it's in tune, and it's like really confusing.
Dream on, James.
Yeah.
We're not recording this, are we?
And can anybody hear that, difference? I don't know.
Yeah. But this is also where I really feel like, back at the beginning of this, I was talking about, I feel like I've found my calling in life. For a couple of reasons, and one of them is I can watch that stuff by James Taylor. I can play the stuff, obviously, but I can explain it to you too. Here's what he's really trying to do. Or here's what he would try to tell you to do if he could. And like again, I said to me that, or like I said earlier, to me that's the most rewarding thing I can be doing in music because it's helping other musicians that need the connection, and most artists who create this stuff can't do it. But same thing. Now, Jim Croce was a little bit more orthodox in his style of stuff.